It's time to hammer.
Now I gotta really try hard.
Shut it down! Somehow it's the best.
Beyond Chunks Podcast.
Yum chunks!
Greetings, friends, listeners, and lost souls of the internet. Yeah, everyone's welcome here. Thanks for staying after the credits tonight as we discuss Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. I'm one of your favorite hosts, Sean, and with me tonight are your other very favorite hosts, Chris.
You're my favorite host, Sean.
Aww, and Matt.
We can't all be favorites.
We're all equally loved. And
That's true. That was a kind of a stupid statement you made, Sean.
There
I take my love back. Thanks for pointing that out, Chewy.
Santa loves
to give him my
each
love.
of us equally. He doesn't pick favorites. How's everyone doing and going? Both.
We're going.
Well, going.
It's great. We're all doing great.
I'm having a good time. I'm glad to be here, guys.
Me too.
I'm glad to be here.
Cool. Well,
gets to be on another episode too.
Yeah, 2 in a row. That's kind of a rare occurrence for you. That's unfortunate. We don't get you as much.
That's a Chewy record.
Yeah. Well, you guys know I'm busy.
Everyone, busy little bees. But it's good to good episodes to have you on. What? Before we get into it, let's briefly jump into some other things going on. Anybody watch any other movies or shows or read any billboards recently?
Read any billboards?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a big question again.
The Chipotle billboard on the eastbound 78 is always the one over by the DMV. That billboard is always pretty entertaining.
There's this billboard on my way to work up the 5 that always says, it's a Cox Communications billboard that always says, if you were moving at gig speed, you'd be home already. That one always kind of gets me to chuckle a little.
How do they know they're not about to get off the freeway? I don't know.
That is true.
How do they know I'm not? How do they know I'm going home?
I mean, most of the time when I read that, I'm never going home. I'm going to work. So
that billboard doesn't know me. Well, aside from billboards, let's see.
Yeah, I don't think we were supposed to take that seriously.
Yeah, you guys went with it, but I love it. I started season 2 of The Patriot, which was a show I talked about many episodes ago, which season 2 just premiered on Amazon Prime Video. Really good. So far, so good. Loving it.
Is it a sequel
Good
to
stuff.
Mel Gibson's The Patriot?
Yes, season 2 of the TV show The Patriot is a sequel to Mel Gibson's The Patriot.
Okay.
Season
Not
1
season
was
1.
not, though.
It's very...
They went in a weird direction for
It's a
season
very
1.
interesting maneuver on their part, but I appreciate the risk.
It's bold. Amazon's willing to go out there. I give them credit for that. And then Mystery Science Theater, the newest season, just started on Netflix. So I've been watching a few episodes of that. It's always one of my faves. New season, still not I don't know if not as good as the originals, but you get a chuckle out of it. A good billboard chuckle out of it. What else? Oh, and I saw this movie called Green Book. Have you guys heard of this movie?
Yeah, the one with Mahershala Ali and what's his face?
Yep.
That thing is getting good reviews, and I'm hearing Oscar buzz for it. But it doesn't look good based on the.
I thought it was getting.
TV ad
I thought it was getting mediocre reviews, but it was still getting Oscar buzz.
Let me take a look at the tomato meter.
Oh, no.
Strong
The
80.
trusty-
It's in a strong
Is it?
80, I think.
Is it? Is it? It is.
That sounds like good reviews to me. I don't know what you want.
I want.
You want your Viggo Mortensen film 90 or better? As a huge Lord of the Rings fan, you
It's
demand
because
it.
I don't settle. All right.
Yeah, well, I did not go intentionally to view that film, but A Star Is Born was sold out. So I was like, well, I'm at the theater. I don't want to go home. So I saw that instead. And it was the movie. It was good. It was like a movie your grandma's going to love.
Yeah, I used to host a movie night at a library, and it was always senior citizens. There was never anyone under under 50 in that theater. And I saw that ad and I went, "This is a library movie. This is exactly that's exactly the kind of movie."
Here's a good review snippet. You watch Green Book wishing it were a little better, but nonetheless enjoying how very good much of it is, thanks to Mortensen and Ali, who make every moment sing. I like how this is wishing it were a little better.
Wish it was a little bit better.
I can't disagree with that.
This probably should have been better.
Yeah, I mean, Viggo Mortensen is amazing. He is awesome in it. I think he's one of, like, he hasn't been in much recently. I feel, but he's a really good actor. I think, like, after the Lord of the Rings, he got huge, and there was a couple things after that where, like, did you guys ever see that what was that called? Eastern Promises, where he played that Russian mobster. He was fantastic in that. Anyways, he's a really good actor. He's awesome in this. He's the best part of the film. The rest is just kind of, if you've seen the trailer, you know what this film's going to be. And your grandma's going to go, "Oh, isn't that nice? That's a good film."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in that Captain
solved.
Fantastic. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's right. I never saw that. Anyways, so, yeah. And then this last weekend, my family went to go see the live touring performance of Wicked. I had never seen that before, so that was fun.
But by your family, did they go without you?
They have been multiple times without me. This was the first time I went with them.
You went with them. Oh, good. I want to talk about that. I actually wanted to go see that, but price range didn't really work out this time. But yeah, tell me about more of your thoughts on that.
I mean, I am aware of what it was and what it is before seeing it, and the Defying Gravity, everyone kind of knows that song anyway.
Yeah.
But I didn't know really exactly what the plot was and the characters and story, so it was good to actually finally, okay, I get it. But as much as I like try to be a cynical, guy going into these musicals, by the end of I'm usually really into it and just eat it up. And yeah, same with this one. I really enjoyed it by the end. Not that the beginning was bad, but it kind of builds and you kind of get emotionally invested more, and obviously the music and every kind of crescendos, and I don't know, it pays off at the end. I do think the ideas and everything that it was about were great. I felt like the end, the very final like kind of scene was a little, I could have done without that. If you know what I'm talking about, like with her and Fiyero kind of going on,
yeah,
I thought that was kind of like, because to me the obviously the heart of that is the relationship between her and Glinda, and
right.
I wanted that to be the last beat of the show, of the story.
Yeah, I guess what do you do when it's gotta still lead into the classic Wizard of Oz? It's kind of you're inherently limited by, it's such a classic story that you kind of there's certain rules you got to follow and things you got to abide by. And that being the case, I do think that they got around those limitations in really clever ways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think I agree with you about the ending, but yeah, I think there's a lot of it where they, they kind of, and you're talking about like the main plot, how you didn't really know what it was about. Yeah, I kind of knew the same things going into it. I saw it a few years ago, but I kind of knew the same things going into it. It sounds like you did, but when they kind of got into like, this is what the story is, I was not really expecting kind of the directions they were taking it. Yeah. So it was still refreshing somehow, even though it's so big on our cultural thing that I was surprised that I was still surprised by it when I saw it. I remember.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just good to finally see it and kind of feel like, I could be a part of this cultural reference and cultural knowledge now. And I would totally see it again. It was, I guess, the main actor is the longest running Alphaba, for Wicked. She's been playing it for, I don't know, years and years and years. So, and she was really good. And the set design and everything was, again, like I always enjoy those aspects of it too. And just kind of the weird kind of steampunkish almost kind of aesthetic to a lot of the design and how it kind of all kind of comes together like clockwork a little bit in the background and some of the transitions and stuff.
I do a couple lessons about that show in my class, and we talk about the steampunk element and kind of how, like, when you do a scenic design, you kind of have to pick one idea like one central theme to kind of base everything that you're designing, all the costumes, all the sets, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they centered on the idea that the wizard is fake, and like just kind of the whole man behind the curtain. It's all just gears, and so it's a lot of natural stuff, but all the like kind of the nitty gritty stuff behind it. And I thought that works really well, and it's really interesting visually, and it sets it apart enough from the original Wizard of Oz that it kind of makes it its own thing.
Oh yeah, totally. But cool. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I've been up to recently. You guys been watching or seen anything else?
I've been watching Maniac on Netflix.
Oh yeah, I watched that a couple of weeks ago, I think.
I'm about halfway through it.
Okay.
The lemur adventure just happened.
Oh, yeah.
That's the last episode I watched. Yeah, this is a weird show.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. You'll have to tell me, talk about when you finish it, because I don't want to like say anything as for fear of spoilers and stuff. But there's a lot I liked about that show. I have some criticism, but ultimately I did enjoy it a lot. And I think early on there's a lot they kind of the world they kind of paint and is really interesting. I really like the just the world building they do, and it kind of being a slight alteration on our basic modern times.
It was kind of disorienting at first, because not only are they introducing this world that's really close to ours but not quite the same, they're also introducing this character who's like schizophrenia is happening. And so it's a lot to take in the first episode or two, because I'm not sure what's real, and I'm not even sure what the show's about yet. Like I didn't know anything about it when I started, so it was kind of it's kind of like getting tossed in the cold water at the beginning. But I would say, I mean, just if I had to make a judgment about it right now, just only halfway through it, this feels like someone's like, you got to make a Netflix show. Like this feels like Netflix the show, because it's got kind of, even just like the title cards and a lot of the design, it's got kind of that like a bit of that 80s nostalgia that's real big right now with it, like, and you see in like Stranger Things and other things, but then it also feels so far like just a really long episode of Black Mirror. So like I could see them, I don't know where the story's going, but I could see them distilling this thing into like a Black Mirror episode, and it would feel right at home in that series. So I'm curious to see where it ends up, but it's pretty wacky.
Yeah, it's wacky, and I think it's a fun ride the whole way through for the most part. So
it's intriguing. It definitely wants me to keep watching every time an episode ends. I'm like, man, where's this going to go?
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. What else? I'm still playing everything I was playing last time. I was talking about still playing Spider-Man, Talos Principle. Yeah, having a good stuff with that.
Cool.
Good time. Yeah.
Nice.
What about who else? Who else still needs to share?
Chris?
I mean, I don't really have much to share.
You've been in a coma.
Since the last recording, I fell into a coma. No, I mean, I started rewatching Samurai Champloo, just to share it with my significant other, and I hope she's liking it so far. But yeah, other than that, just I got Maniac on my list to watch, but I'm also trying to finish off Dragon Quest XI, and just general life. Football season's wrapping up, fantasy football, so that's taking.
Well, cross Maniac off your list so we can do an episode.
All right,
because it's a thing I'll have actually seen. Because I feel like a lot of these things I can't partake in because I haven't seen the thing. So I've actually seen this one.
All right, I'll bump it up.
And it's only 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
Cool.
Before we start,
right.
can we talk about the Cowboy Bebop live action series a little?
I guess so. Sure. I don't have much to say about it.
Netflix just announced.
Yeah. Good. Say your thoughts, Chris. Get them out there.
How can this possibly work in live action? I guess it's grounded enough that it can work in live action, but I feel like it shouldn't. Like it just shouldn't work in live action.
The thing is that like now with just how far everything's come with CG and basically the ubiquitousness of it, and how we essentially take for granted that there's CG in everything now, I'm not as reticent to say that this can't work live action than I would have been 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know if it needs to be live action, but I could see it live action, I guess is what I'm saying. Like if I could see a Avatar live action, I think I could see a Cowboy Bebop live action.
I guess I'm just curious.
I'm not sold on Avatar live
well,
action.
I'm not necessarily sold on the idea of them doing one, but I could see them doing a like the live actionness of it is not what is. Well, that's one of the things that's. Anyways, never mind. Yeah.
I don't know, but I guess I mean, there's very little known other than they just announced that it's a 10-episode deal or whatever, and I don't know. It just has me thinking of like 10 episodes. The original series was 26, I think. And I wonder, are they just going to retell the story, or because of how episodic the original series was, are they just going to do like side stories in that universe with the main characters or whatever? You know, kind of like the movie just kind of came out after the show, right? But it was just like another journey of theirs, I guess. I imagine
it'll be. I kind of hope too that each episode is a completely different adventure. It's going to be a somewhat retelling, you know, using the structure of the original series, and I think that would probably I'd be okay with that. I think it'd feel silly just them trying to remake an exact episode into a live action version of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm curious. I'm also curious if they're going to get Yoko Kanno back for the music, since that's probably the most prolific thing of the show, right? Like everybody knows the music.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. They didn't even say a date or anything, did they?
No, they're just like, this is happening.
Cool. Well, that's breaking news as of today at time of recording. Also,
you heard it here first.
You heard that this thing existed here first. Also, this
won't be up tonight.
This is not super relevant, but I did tease it before we started recording. Little sneak peek, audience, behind the curtain. So, have any of you guys ever read the Artemis Fowl books? Was that a thing?
That thing? No, I nope.
Okay, I didn't either. But the trailer came out, and is it a thing? I don't know. I remember those. I think I was aware of a book called that, but
I was reading up a little bit about it. So apparently, it came out shortly after the Harry Potter books, right? And I guess it actually had a pretty big following, enough that they kept making more and more books. It was kind of along the lines of Harry Potter, not like exactly like Wizarding World stuff, but like kind of fantasy with a little human twist or whatever. And I guess it was popular, so they're a little late on the whole movie thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any strong interest personally, but I was just curious if you guys had ever read the books or had any attachment to the franchise or anything. So, but since not, no one cares. Strike it from the records.
It looks like that Big Fat Liar movie. That's what it reminded me of. I don't know why.
The one with Paul Giamatti?
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know
run
why.
Around the back lot at Universal.
Yeah, something about this movie, just like the way the trailer looked and everything. I was like, Big Fat Liar just came to the forefront of my mind. I don't know why.
That was the first thing I ever saw Paul Giamatti in, and that might have been one of the first big roles that he had. So when he started popping up in stuff like Sideways and like other and Cinderella Man and other actual real movies, I went, well, the guy from Big Fat Liar? Okay. I was not expecting that career trajectory, but all right, cool.
It was where Frankie Muniz and Paul Giamatti's careers met on the way up and down. Ironically, Paul Giamatti going up and Frankie Muniz going down, which you would not expect based on their age. But.
Nope. Also Jaleel White was in that movie. Steve Urkel. And he played himself, and he had a character arc that he was upset about people only knowing him as Steve Urkel.
Speaking of Jaleel White.
Oh, what? Where could this possibly be going?
Let's talk about the movie of the night.
I'm sorry.
He was in it, wasn't he?
Who would he have possibly been?
Sonic.
Was he?
Jaleel White hasn't voiced Sonic since the mid-90s.
You sure that wasn't him?
He was not Sonic the Hedgehog. I
gotta
look.
Lead us into this conversation, but I'm going to find out.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm still looking. Okay, well, we're going to jump in. We'll start.
We must know.
We all watched Wreck-It Ralph 2. Ralph Breaks the Internet. came out last week, and so we're getting into it. Yeah, we'll talk about spoilers. This film isn't super spoiler.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It was Roger Craig Smith.
Sonic was not.
It says modern, stupid, talky voice.
They got the guy who plays him normally.
Honestly, what you were expecting? Sonic. Jaleel White hasn't been Sonic in like decades.
I just wanted to hope, Chewie. I wanted to hope.
But
isn't that really what this movie's about? Hope.
You would know.
Not that.
You would know. His voice is distinctive enough. You would know immediately that is Jaleel White. But since you had to look it up, like, no.
But Anthony Daniels was in it.
Oh, cool.
So that was...
All right, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Sean, lead us in.
Okay, Wreck-It Ralph 2, follow-up. So Wreck-It Ralph 1, I enjoyed a lot. I think I saw it 4 times in the theaters. And it's one of my favorite Disney animated films, especially modern Disney animated. And this one was good. I enjoyed it. It was not as good as the first, though, at least not in my opinion. I won't say that it didn't have a certain charm. I don't think it was as funny, though, so that was part of it. And I think just... in a lot of ways, it was maybe a little broader, whereas the first one was partially the reason I liked it because it was about video games, and so I have a personal interest in that. And this one, as much as it's had that aspect to it, it also just kind of was like all over the place in terms of subject material. And for the most part, it was fine, but I do feel that some of those kind of topics were a little, I don't know, like I said, broad. For lack of a better term.
I getcha. Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was good. I liked overall the ideas and some of the themes that it presented. I thought they were interesting and mature. And I have some interesting thoughts in terms of just the IP and the branding and kind of a lot of what the content of the film is. It has some weird, interesting implications, and I don't know. Anyways, but I don't know. That's me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm pretty close to where you're at. I would say that this, of the current, what's known as the revival era of Disney animation, I would say that Wreck-It Ralph is probably my favorite, now that kind of a lot of the dust has settled. And part of that is kind of the reasons why that you mentioned, it kind of felt like a movie for us because of the video game.
Yeah.
Culture behind it and a lot of that stuff. It kind of seemed like a movie that I wasn't expecting to get, especially not out of Disney. Also, the fact that it was a Disney movie, so that really felt like really personal. And this movie was missing kind of that element because it shifts away from the video game culture aspect of it. There's a little bit in there, but it definitely shifts away. I was not as excited about this movie going into it as I was the first one, because, like, okay, yeah, the internet jokes. I don't know. That didn't seem as appealing to me. And it also had a little bit of I never saw it, but it had a little bit of like Emoji Movie feeling to it. Like kind of like we're doing this personified internet thing. So I wasn't super feeling it, but I'm happy with what I got. I still think the first one I like a little bit more. I think the first one definitely has a tighter script.
Yes,
and I think I think the first one definitely does a better job of kind of like establishing the rules of the universe, and then kind of, all right, here's the story. We're following these rules, kind of like in the way that the movie Inception doesn't do very well. Because, like, if you think of that movie, the first half of it's just an instruction manual for the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
And Wreck-It Ralph, the original, kind of is the same way, and but not in a way that's distracting. Like, you're still invested in the story and the characters, and I really loved that first one, and it's kind of these were big shoes to fill, and I would say they almost filled them.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I agree. All those points, Chris. What is your take?
I mean, I more or less agree with you guys across the board. It was fun. It was definitely a well-crafted movie. Like Chewie, I would probably rank the first Wreck-It Ralph pretty high in the revival. This one, I think, would fall a little bit more towards just like the middle. Just kind of like, yeah, it exists. It had its fun. But all in all, I felt like everything it was trying to say was, I don't know. It just felt kind of predictable, which isn't always like a terrible thing, but at the same time it made it come off a little surface level, I guess. I don't know. Like, I
gotta disagree with you wholeheartedly there, but go ahead and continue.
I mean, I don't know. It didn't really resonate with me. Like, I felt I don't know. Like, I felt the whole arc with Ralph having to deal with letting go of his one good friend or whatever, like, I don't know, it just didn't like hit me deep or anything like that. It just felt kind of surfacey for an arc.
I think I understand what you're saying. I maybe if it didn't hit you, that's why it didn't resonate with you, and that's fine. I think to me, I agree, kind of. Like I it didn't resonate with me, but I also don't necessarily think that means it was surfacey. Like I still think it was, like I said, I liked the theme and like what the film was kind of trying to present as an idea. I get that if it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to be as attached to it. But I don't necessarily think it's because it was too surface level. If that makes sense.
I definitely not that it's the surface level. And then again, I'm going to go back to talking about a little bit about the first one, but I was really impressed that the first one attempts to take on a story that's about like a schlubby guy having a midlife crisis, and like that's your basis of your fun like cartoon animated Disney movie. And I thought that's a difficult premise and kind of theme and story to take on, and they did a really good job of it. And I think that they had a kind of a bolder central message in this one, and I kind of see this, it's kind of about like toxic relationships and toxic friendships, and like you kind of like you have to, and it's about boundaries, right? And I think that teaching kids like boundaries are a thing that needs to exist, and sometimes even if you love someone, you can't overstep those boundaries, and it's healthy to kind of draw lines and to establish and recognize when you're in a friendship that like is not good for one or both of the people in that friendship. I think that is amazing. I think that's an incredible message to send little kids, and do it in a way that is understood. Maybe they didn't do it as cleanly as they did their message in the first movie, but I think that it's pretty bold of them to kind of center their story around that idea.
I mean, I guess I think I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I agree with the way you put it per se, because I mean, it's not like their friendship was viewed as being toxic to one another, right? Because they're still friends at the end of the movie. It's just a matter of being able to recognize when someone needs something new or needs to move on to something else, right? And not purposefully holding them back for your own.
Maybe not purposefully, but we don't always do bad things purposefully, though. That's the thing.
Well, no. I mean, but he was still trying to do things to hold her back, right? That's what I mean by purposely. Not like he was intending to hurt her, but he was specifically for his own good trying to keep her with him, right?
Right.
So
absolutely,
that's what I mean by purposely. But like, I mean, they were still friends in the end. It was never like that was in danger per se, right? I mean, right off the bat, after the whole thing, she's like, "I never said we weren't friends. I just said you're acting like an idiot." Right? Like,
right, exactly. And that's why I also like that the resolution in the movie is kind of bittersweet, right? Like, yeah, this is what they need, and they still love each other, and they can still, and it's kind of like you have like everybody has their friendships in their lives where maybe you're really close at one point, but after a while you kind of grow apart and you don't see each other for maybe months or years at a time. But then when you do, like, it's like old days, right? Like everything's great, right? But like maybe sometimes some of those situations happen because it's necessary, right? And that it's not the typical Disney ending, I don't think, right? Yeah. Like you would expect Disney, when you think of Disney and you think of cliche happy endings and fairy tales and all that junk, you'd expect them to have their, we're friends forever. And, you know, when you've already achieved that at the end of the first movie, where do you go but like, oh, maybe this isn't good for us. Maybe we have different goals and we have different, and I really respect that, and I think that's pretty cool.
That's I mean, I touched on it too. Same thing with like I meant by the themes and the ideas and stuff. I do think it's a subtle, I like you're saying, it is pretty complex thing, and in that regard it's not predictable. I do think just in terms of the story, you're right, Chris. It wasn't really like, you know, whoa, that's crazy, wasn't expecting that. In terms of the story, sure, that was pretty cool. But in terms of the relationships, I guess, is ultimately where I did not necessarily see that coming. But I do think like it is, but it's important to point out that it wasn't like you were saying, Chris, it's not that they were not friends at the end, or that they were disparring their friendship. I think there's a subtle thing, and it's important to note that like the current state of where they were at the beginning of the film was kind of holding Vanellope back, or at least she wasn't growing as much as she could be as a person. And that doesn't mean that the friendship was toxic, or it doesn't mean that the friendship was bad. I guess what I'm saying is that like the end of the film is bittersweet, but it's not that they're not friends anymore. I think it's important to understand that. I think that they are still just as much friends, and in some ways better friends at the end of the film than they are at the beginning of the film. And
absolutely.
So I guess that's where I just want to me anyways, like, I think it would have been a much more like, I don't like depressing, I think sad ending if they were like, well, yeah, we're not friends anymore. Like that would have been bold for Disney to do. And also, I don't think I would have liked it either, but
also thinking back to like the pacing of the movie, which I don't think it was bad, but it does come off a little odd now that I think about it, was okay. So the beginning of the movie, right? She's feeling like stale. She's like, my life is kind of stale. I only have 3 tracks, stuff like that. But her friendship with Ralph is still really strong, right? They have no problems. Ralph even comes in. He's like, I'm going to make you a new track. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're the best. Blah. So they're still having a good time. It's not until later in the movie, they go to the internet. They're still kind of focused. And then they find, we need to get the car. That's when she's like, oh, there's so much more, right? Yeah. So it's not even like at the beginning. It's not... And,
I know.
This kind of goes to the good point of it, right? Is the fact that you see a very clear evolution in Vanellope throughout the movie, because what she wants is constantly growing throughout the movie.
Yeah. One thing, I don't know, I couldn't help but think of this, and this might sound super pretentious, but what did you guys ever read in high school or something? A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry, it's super pretentious. He's a Scandinavian author during like the 1800s. But look it up. Look up on Wikipedia. It's kind of the same idea. But it's basically about this woman who has the perfect life, and she's, doted upon by her husband and her family. And throughout the course of the play, she grows and realizes that, like, just because I have this really well manicured, perfect life, I'm basically being held back. And at the end of the play, she leaves her, like, and at the time it was really controversial. Like, imagine that from the 1800s.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not quite the same thing in the historical context of Wreck-It Ralph 2. It does not quite match that of that play. But in terms of the themes and stuff like that, it was hard for me not to think of that. And that's ultimately kind of what it is about, is this, like, yeah, Ralph was giving her the perfect life, but that doesn't mean that it was the perfect life. If
absolutely
exactly. So, anyways, well, moving past the kind of heavy thematic stuff. Well, not moving past it. We'll keep talking about it, but just getting into some other things. I mentioned how I, in general, I didn't think it was quite as funny as the first one, with a few exceptions. One, a surprising exception, is the Disney princess scene, because they definitely, marketing-wise, shoved that down our throats. But honestly, when I was in the theater watching that scene, I laughed more at that scene than any of the other scenes. It was still funny to me.
Are you talking about when she first encounters them, or like the climax at the end?
Actually, both. Well, the climax was surprising. That's because I obviously did not see that coming. I thought they were going to be the one scene joke throwaway, but then it's like, oh, they actually come back. So that was surprising and funny. But the scene at the beginning, or the first scene too, was really funny. The stuff in the trailers. But then they went beyond that. I could not stop laughing when Vanellope does her own song. Steering wheel. That was great. She does a little jig at the end. And then I just like busted up when they did the Batman Disney logo. I don't know why that was so funny. I don't know. Anyways, but aside from a few things here and there, I didn't think it quite had. It wasn't quite as funny. I don't know. What did you guys think?
I have to wonder if that is partially what we were talking about before, where like it was a lot of video game humor before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a lot of the humor the jokes that they do with the internet subject matter, kind of, it's like, yeah, okay, that's the joke I would expect you to make there.
Yeah. No, that's kind of how I felt too. I think too is there was a lot of times where I thought, oh, that's clever, but not like funny, like not laugh out loud funny, like, oh, that was that's funny what they did there. Like, I'm thinking it, but I'm not like, I'm just still sitting there watching. Like, I
guess I think the beginning of the movie was probably the funnier part to me, when they were still focused on like video game jokes. Like, I was just trying to remember any jokes that I remembered from this movie. And I guess the one that stands out was when they were talking about how Sagat manscapes or whatever. And his little weird like ankle hair puffs or whatever. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, that's funny. And I think also too, maybe it's because I missed a little bit some of the the characters from the first one, because really, except for Ralph and Vanellope, all the other characters from the first one kind of they kind of take a back seat. They're just kind of they're a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Felix and Calhoun from the first movie, and they show up at the beginning, at the end. I guess, I don't know, because the trailer doesn't really show them very much, but I wasn't expecting them to just basically be cameos. I was hoping for a little bit more out of them, especially because that first movie takes the time to develop all those characters and make me like all of them.
Yeah.
So it seems kind of weird to just toss them aside. I thought there could have been something for them to come along the adventure, like, maybe it's a bit samey, but like, something's going on in the arcade, and we need Vanellope or Raph to come back, so we need to go look for him, and they have their own but now they're married because of the first one, so their relationship is different, and that would have been fun to play with, I guess.
At the very least, I was kind of expecting them to cut back to that as a B plot. Them with the kids, but they never do. I mean, I guess it would have felt forced. I guess I don't know how they could have made that feel relevant in the story, but I don't know. I was I was expecting more of them, and so I was kind of disappointed. Like, I guess they're not really in this movie. I think also just because a lot of the new characters weren't. I don't think I liked them as much. That could be it. So it was just like, I wanted to see Felix and Calhoun, and I don't know.
I like the pop-up ad character. The green guy that takes him to the darknet. By the way, going to the darknet, I don't know how I feel about that in an animated Disney movie. that was weird.
It was weird.
I liked that character, and I thought like his little like monster
weird cousin
guy
thing
with the arms. That was.
I didn't understand. What was that supposed to be?
I don't know, but it was hilarious. I don't know why, because it was so weird looking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked him all right. But like,
if I'm thinking about the other new characters, you got like
Gal Gadot. I don't remember her name, or Shank, I guess. Like
Shank,
she was fine,
okay,
I guess.
And
they were just like, "You're cool, gal. Let's just make a animated version of you. Just cool as a cucumber."
And the algorithm character at YouTube didn't really work for me so much.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just kind of, they're like, okay, they're there. They didn't really do anything. Yeah, there was never any moments with them where I just like really loved it.
So as we're talking about this, and I'm thinking more and more about it, it is actually really weird that there is no B plot in this movie, right?
Yeah.
It almost makes it feel a little bit more like a straight to what you would expect from like a straight to DVD plot, right? Because it's like, why most big movies like this have some sort of B plot, some sort of breakup in the action, right?
They kind of do, because at some point when Ralph's doing his viral YouTube thing, the two characters separate, and they do kind of have the plot. They cut back and forth. It's not quite as defined, and it doesn't last as long, but I would say that they still do that in this movie.
It is funny though, because now that you say that too, I am thinking. Although I'm thinking in the first film, I don't remember exactly how they structure the, what the main through line is, and then what the side stories are in that. At least not off my memory, I can't remember. Anyways, but it is kind of weird, and only in what is it? Halfway through the film, do they actually split up? Up until then, it's pretty much, straightforward Ralph and Vanellope all the time. So,
I want to talk about the virus for a second.
Oh, I want to talk about that too, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, so I was definitely on board with its introduction, right? Like the idea of it finds insecurities. And as soon as it said insecurity, I immediately thought, oh, her glitch, right?
Yeah.
The fact that she glitches and stuff like that. And that makes absolute sense. And they do it, right? They follow that. They're like, oh, she's glitching. It recognized that it's spreading that glitch. So then when the very next thing they do is he gets out and it sees that Ralph, a very solid program, is just crying a little bit. that somehow relates as an insecurity that a computer program would.
No, but his insecurity was his relationship with Vanellope, which is why it manifested into such a
it's
monster.
Just, it completely goes the opposite direction of the computer thing.
I get, like, because obviously it's a metaphor, blah, blah, but I feel like it's a case where the vehicle of the metaphor disappears, and now it's no longer a metaphor because you were literally just using his emotional insecurity as a plot. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get that. That doesn't so much bother me about that. I think that idea still works. But what really bothers me is that the whole idea of the virus, from a plot standpoint, feels a bit contrived.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's impossible for me not to relate it to the first movie, because the entire first movie's climax is basically a virus. Yeah. But what I was talking about earlier with how the first movie the script felt tighter, and how it does a good job of setting up things and paying them off later.
Yeah.
The whole movie, everything that happens throughout the movie builds to that climax, because they establish the hero's duty game. They establish that the bugs turn into what they eat.
Yeah.
Right? And then we can't let the bugs out. The bugs get out.
Yeah.
The whole movie, there's this rising tension that we know that the bug is loose in Sugar Rush, but they don't. And then when we find out King Candy's bad, and then it eats King... Like, it's this whole sequence of events that feels more like a virus, actually.
Yeah.
Because it starts small and then it gets out of control and it spreads, and by the end of it, you're like, oh god, how do we fix this? Whereas in this movie, it has still like, okay, we're going to end the climax with a fight against a virus, just like the first movie. But in this movie, we're going to say, here's a virus. Here we go. Here's one. We bought it at the store, and we're going to put it... And they say, now make sure you don't let this loose out of the game. So, of course, you know that's what's going to happen immediately. Yeah. And so it just feels a little bit lazier than the first movie.
I agree.
In that idea.
There's not the same build, and even on a certain level is when it does replicate Ralph, like, at first it's kind of funny, I suppose, but it doesn't build to that. So the big threat of a giant Ralph hasn't been, like, at least plot-wise, been built up to. You haven't been, like, anticipating it. So the threat and the action, you haven't, been building this up in your mind. It's just like, oh, all of a sudden there's the big bad out of nowhere.
Not to mention, before the whole virus stuff gets introduced, it feels like the plot hits a dead end.
Yeah.
Because the whole plot, okay, we got to raise enough money to buy the steering wheel. We did it, and we bought the steering wheel. And then never mind, I'm going to stay in the internet. And then I could just feel the writer going, all right, well,
we need more conflict.
We need the next thing to happen so that we can end the movie. So
there's two moments where I feel like you could see the writer's hand in the plot in terms of it feeling forced. And there's one for each character. And it's one when Vanellope goes to the Grand Theft Auto game without telling Ralph. Like, I get that she would go to the game, but to me it felt a little false that she would not say anything to Ralph. She would not let Ralph know, or whatever it is. But then the other more important thing, or at least the more obvious, is when Ralph is just like, no, she's being controlled. Like, what? Why would you think that? Like, her brain has been...
I remember that scene. I thought that was
hypnotized
or
whatever. What does he say? Like, she's been under mind control. That's not really her. I have to go. Like, what? Like, I get that you don't want her there and you got to have some sort of conflict, but it felt like a really hackneyed, kind of lazy. We got to get from point A to point B. Just here, we got to throw this in there. It just has to be done, and it just felt really, I don't know, lame.
I kind of feel like that was him being in denial about like them going apart. Like, I don't feel like he actually on like a actual level went, oh no, this is actually what's happening. She's got to be. I feel like it's him rationalizing. Like,
well, yeah, no, I suppose I understand that, but I just felt like even from a writer's perspective, like it felt off character from Ralph. Like it just felt weird. Like, even if he was rationalizing, which I mean he was rationalizing, I get that, but it felt so forced. Like she was being like even he would think of a better way to rationalize it. Or I think it would have served the
plot's purpose a little bit better if he had just flat out said it's just like she doesn't know what's best for her or something like that. Kind of like
exactly. Like that's what I mean.
That. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Anyways, those are the points where I was just like, oh, okay. If it wasn't for those actions that I felt were kind of off character, the movie, the third act of the film wouldn't happen. There would be
I felt like the part where he finds the comments and stuff. I didn't feel like that had a lot of purpose because it was resolved within that very scene. It was just like,
because that's the thing is that like you see the signs has comment section and I go, oh no, like and I go, this is interesting because this is really clever because we all know avoid comment sections, especially in today's day and age.
It is funny too. The room is empty. Like another comment, like everyone in the internet knows to avoid the comment section.
Right, and so I'm sitting here like bracing for impact about how this is going to affect the story because it feels like it's going to be a major turning point, and at the same time going, yes, good, okay, cool, like awesome.
Let's see a G-rated comment.
Yeah,
section.
You get sad.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. But it doesn't really. It doesn't really go anywhere. Like the flip side of it is the my favorite scene in the first movie is when like Ralph has to break Vanellope's go-kart. Yeah. Because it goes and you're following them develop this friendship, and he's teaching her how to drive and all that, and then he has to break it to save her, but he's like he looks at his hands and he's like, I'm the bad guy because I break stuff, and it's got that nice little moment and it's emotional. Like I feel like there was something they could have done with the comment section thing that could have been this movie's that moment, and it just. I don't know. They couldn't quite put the pieces together.
Exactly. That's what, like, I felt like if it was a string and then that scene happened and it was just like, just got cut off. It didn't lead anywhere. And then the next scene, or really close by, is the scene when he's waiting for Vanellope and he finds out that she is in the game, and they just have to manufacture a string, a lead on that side. It's like they could have tied those together somehow and made them
somehow. And I don't know how. I can't think of it either. But I feel like there was a wasted opportunity somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does speak to his maybe emotional state of mind, and that's all great. But I do feel like they could have done a better job of conveying it through an actual, his actions and the towards the plot better, I suppose, instead of just like the background of like his attitude. I don't know. Anyways, things like that though, what you said. It's not as tight a script as the first one, and those were some of the bigger things about this one that I felt like were more obvious in that regard. Also, like we touched upon it, but the world of the internet is like pretty broad. They covered a lot of stuff, and for the most part, I do think a lot of the stuff was clever, like I said. But it did conjure up a lot of questions, which you shouldn't ask in movies like this. But like there were just things like there would be characters in the internet, so personifications of algorithms or whatever it is, who have cell phones themselves. Like what? Like, why does Yes have a cell phone? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was almost Cars level of this. It
did veer into Cars level territory of logic. Yeah, I agree with that. Because I didn't find myself having to question how the universe worked in the first movie.
Yes, exactly. I felt the first one was just like, oh, okay.
And this one, every step of the way I'm going, okay, wait, so all these icons are representations of real, actual humans. So now we have a place where these video game cartoon not real people can interact with, but on a limited basis, and there's human money and consequences that affect the real world, not just the video game world. So you're getting kind of, I don't know, you're getting into weird territory. You're getting, that overambitiousness makes it kind of harder to keep everything making sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of, and like, again, you really shouldn't need to think about all this stuff, but I guess if nothing else, just the fact that I was distracted by these questions is usually an indicator that they didn't do a great job of immersing, the viewer in, like you said, in the first film, I did not have these questions. It made a sort of sense in the world. And I was like, okay, yeah, I buy it. I get it. But there was too much in this one that I was like, wait a second, what?
The most distracting thing is the fact that a digital video game character can somehow go viral on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like,
digital video game character somehow made over $20,000, right? And
but like, where are they filming?
Where was that money even stored?
Right. Here's the biggest, because that was the biggest thing that took me out of the logic of this universe, is that, okay, we're watching an animated movie. Like, on our level, we're watching an animated movie.
Yeah.
So everything looks animated. All the people look animated, but so does Ralph, so does Vanellope. But the animated people are watching animated Ralph through their YouTube app. What does he look like to them? Does he look like a real human? Because they're animated in the same way. So if I'm supposed to look at an animated real life person in the Wreck-It Ralph universe and go, that's a person. That would be like me. If I looked in the mirror, I would look like that if I existed in that universe. Does Ralph look like a real human?
He's super photorealistic, I guess.
Yeah, is that what happens? So is that what we're supposed to, when they're just chilling at the hub station, the surge protector, or they're going around the game, do they see themselves looking photorealistic human, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't answer that.
They would have to, otherwise why would people think that Ralph is this guy doing all this, YouTube poop
it reminds me of I think a film that I think does it, or at least
you got me thinking,
aside from
me thinking. Oh no.
Aside from the first Wreck-It Ralph, which you mentioned, is Inside Out. Right? How do you embody a lot of these things in your brain, right? And I think they did a pretty good job. I was like, okay, the memories are this, and this is the different parts of your brain, the subconscious. Okay, we get it. That it makes a certain sense. But in this, there's too many things. It's okay, wait. So the people in the internet have buttons themselves that are watching the videos, but the videos are shouldn't the videos themselves be people in the internet? Aren't, you know what I mean? If an algorithm is a person, shouldn't anything be shouldn't a video itself be a person instead of a video, another video that they're you know what I mean? Any level of thought beyond just what's in front of you on the screen, it starts to kind of break down. I don't know. Again, it's just more distracting than anything. I don't honestly think it really takes away from the quality of the film so much, but it's worth mentioning, I think.
Absolutely. It's weird.
It is, yeah. I guess that's it. It's just
also
weird.
There has to be some sort of time dilation in the internet or their world, right? Because they were waiting in long lines at the end of eBay, and obviously when you're on the internet, a checkout page takes not even a full second to load, right? How long was he in line or people in this line looking to purchase things?
I don't know. Yeah. And also, I thought it was kind of funny too that it almost because there was all the avatars for all what are supposed to be humans, and their little the little me character kind of things. It was almost those, from our understanding of what NPCs are, and when we play video games, it was kind of a weird reversal where all the computer programs and characters were actually more human characters, and all the human characters in the world were all just mindless things, just like NPCs. And I'm not being very clear, but do you kind of get on?
So the Disney princesses that we saw in the internet were their own 3D versions. Are we going to get a crossover where they meet their live action versions at the park or something?
Well, that's another question I have. So again, stuff that's way not exactly a critical analysis of this film, but so are the Disney princesses, are they supposed to be just the characters from the films themselves, or are they supposed to be some sort of amalgamation of all of our collective knowledge of these characters personified in this internet thing?
They would have to be that amalgamation, right? Because
well, yeah, because they'd say Merida, she's from the other studio.
But they also make reference to their specific adventures, they were saved by princes or not.
But they're aware of the fact that their characters in a movie.
I know, that's why it's I don't know. Which kind of leads me, I touched upon this in the intro about some interesting ideas, and that is just how self-referential this movie is, obviously. And I do think this film does actually a better job of it than I was expecting, or that other films, like you mentioned the Emoji Movie. I haven't seen it, but I imagine that was pretty crappy, and this did a better job of that kind of meta level self-referential humor. But at the same time, it's Disney making fun of itself. But is it I don't know. How do you feel? Yeah, we're taking over the world. It's all in good fun, and they make fun of themselves. But it's toothless. It's not. You're not really. It's harmless. you're not really offering any biting criticism because you're impervious to that.
So it's funny that you bring that up because there was a scene that they said was specifically cut, right? Did you hear about the Star Wars scene that got cut? Okay.
The Kylo.
They had a
about
Kylo Ren joke where they were joking about him being a spoiled child. And it was going to be, I mean, I can't speak to the scene itself because nobody's seen it, but like it would, you'd assume it would be him kind of throwing a tantrum and stuff like that, which would obviously resonate with people that have seen those movies because that is a criticism that people have of his character, right?
It's not a criticism. That is his character. That is the intent of his
criticism
character.
that people
that
have
film for that are stupid.
But they were told by Lucasfilm, they had that, or I told / asked, I'm doing air quotes over here, that they can't have that scene because they're actively using Kylo Ren and they don't want it having an impact on people's opinion of him as those movies are coming out, right? So, that. I
mean, I heard it was from Disney itself, not from Lucasfilm.
Right here it says Lucasfilm, but
okay, okay,
but yeah,
right. I want to.
I was just going to say, I think that's like the perfect example of a chance to actually take a swipe at themselves, right? And be like, hey, yeah, here's a thing that we're doing that is taking some criticism and things like that. And making fun of themselves.
I think they kind of,
when it came to that,
they maybe are best not to, I think they're probably better not to take a stance on opinions of their stories and characters when the state of the internet Star Wars fandom is just a dumpster fire. It's probably best to just not
that's true too.
take a side on any of those opinions.
While we're on that, I think the internet is wrong. The Last Jedi is amazing.
Okay. I want to go back to Oh My Disney because I was thinking about this and while you were talking about that, I was tuning out and doing some research.
Good to know what you do when other people are talking.
Thank you.
No, not always. I had this thought because so the website they go to so that they can make all the Disney stuff happen is Oh My Disney, right? Mm-hmm. I remember when that website was established, like Disney made a real big deal about it, and I clicked around and I looked and I was like, why is because it's like a BuzzFeed type blog. They're like, it's like Disney is trying to do like their own type of BuzzFeed, and it seems so forced trendy to me. And like maybe that's just because it's Disney and they're trying to, and it would, and it's eye rolly, but it seems so forced trendy to me, and I couldn't wrap my head around what they were trying to accomplish with this, who the demographic was for Oh My Disney, right? Yeah. So I had this weird fleeting thought while I was watching the trailers, and again while I was watching the movie, like, is it possible that they came up with Oh My Disney because they knew that in the Wreck-It Ralph sequel they wanted to be able to do this whole thing? Is it possible that they created... here's the thing, though. Wreck-It Ralph came out in 2012. Oh My Disney was created in 2012.
I mean, it's not impossible. I think it's possible. Maybe they didn't have specific, like, okay, obviously at that point they probably didn't have an exact idea of Wreck-It Ralph 2, but I want to put it past them to have an idea of, like, general, okay, that was successful, and we know we want to do something with the internet for the next one. You know what I mean? Like, so in these vague terms, being able to set up for that. I mean, it does seem like a pretty grand thing just for a throwaway kind
I'm gonna keep my tinfoil hat on. I'm gonna say that website only exists so they could put it in Wreck-It Ralph 2.
It's the only way to justify that website's existence.
Challenge, prove me wrong.
Hey, hear that, everyone? That's your challenge. Prove that
hot take. Chunk's hot take.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, my point was, though, I just think that, like it's good. And it is you give Disney a certain level of credit for kind of poking fun of themselves. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like imagine the Empire in Star Wars, like saying, haha, we blew up Alderaan. Oh, we're the worst, aren't we? Like, yeah, you are. You can't joke about that. That's awful. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, obviously it's not that, but instead of using a real world scenario, but... Right?
Enough people don't seem to understand that Kylo, that's the point.
Yeah, that's true.
That is frustrating.
Well, there you go. State of the internet.
So,
and the world.
One thing I did really like, kind of very similar to the first movie, was when they first entered the internet and they were seeing everything. Because it felt like this was new territory for us as viewers, and it was how are they going to portray the internet? And it was nice to see things like Amazon and eBay and Google, Goggle, right, whatever. all that stuff.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice that I don't think a lot of people noticed was there was also overseas major companies. Like there was the 10-cent penguin in there.
I did notice that. I am sure
Yeah.
there's lots of things I missed, and things that they intentionally put in there is like Easter eggs on some, like freeze frame a lot of those shots and find.
You think
cool
they had to
little things
pay
in
to
there.
use all those?
Oh,
I'm sure they did.
I wonder about that because it was
Yeah.
BuzzTube. Like
Yeah.
they didn't use
They did
but
They
mention
did have
YouTube.
YouTube, but there was a
but they
YouTube
mentioned
logo.
YouTube.
Yeah. So
I wonder what the reasoning is there.
I do wonder if, do you think it was the script dictating that decision? Like, I'd like to believe that, but at the same time, it's like I wonder if YouTube's or Google, because they didn't even really use Google, they used the Know It All thing or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, it's like, okay, yeah, you could use us, but you can't, I don't know.
We don't want to be portrayed anyway.
Yeah,
we
so
don't want people to have an opinion based on what you say about us.
Exactly.
Like, I could see a situation like that because, to me, making something called BuzzTube, it's obviously BuzzFeed and YouTube, right? Those
Yeah.
are two things that we know, but there isn't really anything
new.
super BuzzFeedy about it.
No.
It really just feels like we really need to just come up with another YouTube.
Exactly that, and obviously because they're owned by Google, but also because they do use eBay. Like eBay is so prominently part of the plot that it's like they didn't come up with another version of eBay. They just used eBay,
Right.
so it makes it feel a little bit stranger that they didn't use YouTube.
And I have to wonder if because the portrayal of YouTube is kind of it kind of makes the whole thing seem kind of shallow, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea, something stupid could go viral and people can make money off
Yeah.
of it. Like people have opinions about that,
Yeah.
but they don't really have. They don't. If to my memory, all the stuff about eBay in the movie doesn't really have anything that could be portrayed have that kind of an opinion about, right? Like it's what is eBay? It's a place where you buy stuff online, and if it serves the plot exactly how the website serves us,
Exactly.
essentially.
And
So
I mean, it's clever, and I thought again clever of all the ways, like the Instagram and a whole bunch of just hipsters in the art gallery and stuff, and the Pinterest and stuff. I did think it was funny that that weapon he uses to kill
It's a giant pin.
is a giant
Yeah.
pin from Pinterest. I wonder if Pinterest had any say in, I don't know. Maybe Disney owns Pinterest. I'm sure some big conglomerate owns it, but anyways, but all those things were just I will say that for a movie about the internet, for a kid's movie about the internet, somehow they're able to navigate it without including any of the actual awfulness of the internet, which is nearly impossible, which is all of the internet essentially. You know what I mean?
Well, they did commentary on comment section, and
Yeah.
they also went to the dark net.
Well, that was it. They really vague, just references to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's true. The darknet was just oh no, what's going to happen here? But we did kind of go into a lot of detail on what we had criticisms of, but I don't think we said at the beginning we all liked it. I think our criticisms, shouldn't be.
I don't think this is
overall
going to be. I don't think this is going to be as enduring for me as the first one. I think I was with you. I think I saw the first one probably 4 or 5 times also.
Yeah.
Again, just asterisk. I didn't pay any of those times, but still working in the movie theater at the time. But I don't know that I'll go back and see this one again. I'll probably buy it just because I have a collection of all the revival Disney movies. But I'm not as leaping. I'm not as eager to watch this again as I was the first one. But I think I had a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good family or otherwise film. It's funny, it's charming, there's good characters, and surprisingly actually has a somewhat complex and interesting message, especially for this type of film. Something you definitely would not expect. So for no other reason, it should be seen for that, I think.
Absolutely.
Even if it is maybe lacking a little bit of the originality and, I don't know, je ne sais quoi. The first
Oh,
one.
you know what meta joke I did like though?
Tell me.
The mid-credit stinger. I did like that. That one got me.
That
That one got me.
That was really good.
With the little girl
we gotta-
talking about
yeah.
how she hated, and when
I was
there are
sad
scenes
because
in
they
tra-
showed in the trailer, although they still had a shot stuff in the trailer that was not in the actual film. So I thought the scene where Yes is just like, they're talking to Yes, and it's
They're
rough.
explaining the title of the movie.
Yeah, and like, should it be called Rex the Internet? And he's like, yeah, you're not wrong. Like, that was not in the film. But
Yeah, that struck me as a thing that was for the trailer. But
yeah,
how about that after the credit scene?
yeah. Well, the funny
Oh my
thing
gosh.
is,
rolling.
yeah, which I thought was actually, again, another one that's really clever, and actually I did laugh at that, but it was kind of spoiled because I was reading the credits and it said that song.
I did too. Yeah, and
I was like, wait, that
yeah.
song was never in the movie. Oh, wait, I know what's going to happen. So, and then it happened. But it was really, it was good. It was really good.
Also, the Frozen 2 bit was pretty funny too, because that movie's in production, and I was like, "There's no way they're not gonna." This is no way. And
then,
that was
there you go.
that was great.
It was
funny.
like the perfect, if you're having a movie about the internet, you got to have,
Yeah,
got to get
absolutely.
Rickrolled somewhere in there. So
yeah.
anyways, well, what did you guys think about Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet? And by you guys, I mean the internet. What did the internet think about being broken by Wreck-It Ralph? Let us know. Give us a call. Live on air. Or just email us. Or leave a
Are our
comment.
phones ringing?
No, my phone's not. I put it on silent, though, so.
Oh,
Anyways.
it's not ringing either.
Well, the end of the year is upon us, which means there are lots of juicy films coming out. So we will probably have a lot of good episodes coming up in the next.
We're not going to watch any of the good ones. We're going to go
Yeah.
specifically watch all the blockbusters that will most likely be mediocre to bad.
Yep.
Aquaman,
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Bumblebee.
I expect Spider-Man's going to be decent.
Bumblebee.
I know.
don't
I'm making jokes. I also think Aquaman looks like it has the potential to be.
Yeah,
pretty
well,
good.
of course you do, Chris. Of course you do.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you watch that final trailer and you don't think that, this could be another Wonder Woman, then you're just being a jaded a-hole, I think. But
The most recent one has been better than any other ones. I'm still
Call me
skeptical.
Mr. Jaded A-hole.
you are Mr. Jaded a-hole.
That's what
man.
your students.
I'm changing
He gave
all
you
of-
permission. You can
yeah.
call him that.
I'm changing all your contacts to Mr. Jaded a-hole.
All right.
He hacked you. Well, we got plenty of stuff, and we'll probably try to do maybe some end of year kind of review. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure some stuff out. Some
By
holiday
end of the year,
episodes.
are we reviewing 2018 as a year?
Yeah.
Because, boy,
Why not?
oh no.
It's right up there with Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
The kingdom has fallen.
Oh, no. How can we
so
stop all
look out
dozens
for
of those
those.
dinosaurs?
Yeah. Look out for those episodes coming at you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Hope you had fun. But until next time, gotta wreck it.
See us after the credits sometime.
Why don't you?
Why don't you?